Hi, welcome back to English 111 Online. This week we're going to build on what we did last week. Last week I provided you with the assignment sheet for Core Project 3 and Core Project 4. So of course to start with you need to review those assignment sheets. They are two separate assignments, but they are joint in as far as your topic. The annotated bibliography is a separate assignment where you're going to collect your sources and you're going to summarize what those sources were about, show how you used them in your paper, how you knew it was a good reliable source, and that sort of thing. The research paper, Core Project 4, is a separate assignment where you're going to end up writing a full MLA formatted essay on your topic. And your topic is going to come from the choosing one of the global goals from the website that I led you to last time. So if you open up your document for Core Project 4, you will see these live links. They're everywhere I mentioned Global Goals website. I put one of these live links. All you have to do is click on it, and it will take you to 17 goals to transform our world. You will go up here to the get rid of that. Anyway, you'll go up here to the top and you'll click on, you'll open up the goals. And when you open up the goals, you will see the different goals. I need to get rid of that. It's odd that it will not let me click on it to get rid of it. Anyway, you'll pick your goal from up here. So where you go to the goals, 1 through 6, 7 through 12, and under that little aggravating little thing over there are the rest of them. And so whichever one that you clicked on last time, when you did your journal, picture one that you're going to write about, then go back and click on that same journal that you have, that you're able, that you're still working on, the global goal that you're still working on. For instance, in my samples that I'm giving, I'm going with Goal 5, Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment. And so I told you last time, when you go to the goal of your choice, scroll down and you'll find facts and figures. This will come in handy when we're writing our introduction for our essay. And these targets over here, which are specific things that can be done for meeting that goal of gender equality. And so you were to pick 3 of these, and now that you have your 3 solutions that you're working towards to help your goal, you are ready to start doing more research and bringing in sources that will give you some information about these, how to carry out these solutions. You'll find things that are going on in the world that are already helping it, plans that people have in different areas of the world to do projects that will help with this. And so you can find, you need to find evidence to bring into your essay. And in finding the evidence to bring into your essay, those sources will also become part of your annotated works cited. So, back to the assignment sheet for this one. Core Project 3, the annotated evaluative works cited page. This is where we're going to keep all the sources that we're finding right now in doing our research. We're not writing the paper yet. We're just finding our sources. And so wherever you bring in a source, this assignment is asking you to keep all the sources together. You can look at this. You can see how it's going to be graded. 20 points for each of the 4 sources that you're going to list in this. Now, in your research paper, you'll have more sources than the 4. But for this, you only have to have 4. So you can read that assignment sheet. And I believe also in that assignment sheet, I was thinking I had a live link to the Global Goals page again, but I don't, not in that document. There's also another document on here that I've put on for this week that I've asked you in the things to do for this week is to read Core Project 4 Outline for Research document. This document tells you the questions you'll need to answer as you research. So if you open that document up, it tells you, here's what you're going to put in your introduction paragraph. Here's what needs to go into your background paragraph. And here's what needs to go into your body paragraph. So these are some of the things that you'll need to be finding even all the way down through the conclusion paragraph. This is some things that you'll need to be looking for in your research as you get ready to begin writing that big essay, and also as you're working on your evaluative annotated bibliography. There is also a slideshow presentation here. I have that opened up here. It tells you slide by slide your task for this assignment, the annotated bibliography. You'll have an introduction paragraph, and we'll talk about that more later on. But right now, the important thing is 4 evaluative annotated bibliography entries. Now, one of these entries I've already given you. It's the link to your the website where you picked your goal from, that has the targets and the facts and figures and all of that. And so, how do we make an entry for a works cited page out of that? I have put a document on here, annotated bibliography. It's just to remind you of how to do it. Those pages do not have a title, an author, but they do have a title. So in MLA format, if we don't have an author, we skip it and start with a title. Titles go in quotation marks. Yours will be goal, whichever number yours is, and whatever description follows that. So I have, for mine, Goal 5, Achieve Gender Equality and Empower All Women and Girls. Period inside the quotation marks. UN.org is who owns this web page, or is in charge of this web page, publishes this web page. And the name of the website is always in in italics. And then you'll have your URL, which you'll copy from your browser, and then put the date of access that you first looked at this page. So that's one entry that you'll have. You can just use my model here, use my pattern. But also, in addition to that, in this slideshow presentation, I have shown you an entry that I wrote for that particular kind of that first information that I gave you. It's down here at slide 8. So when you look at that, here's my MLA format, Goal 5, all of that information, UN.org and all of that. I had trouble with my hanging indent inside of this slide presentation because of the long URL, but anyway, it is hanging indent. And then there's this paragraph underneath it that covers some of the things that you'll need to cover in your annotated bibliography. In other words, this is the annotation for this site. And this is what I put in. You would put something in about the goal that you're writing about, that web page that you're looking at. So here's what I wrote. This web page is published by the United Nations official organization, which is an intergovernmental organization responsible for maintaining internal peace, international peace, and security, developing friendly relations among nations, achieving international cooperation, and being a center for harmonizing the actions of nations. This is something that you could feel free if you want to copy and paste that, because that is the authority. This is the how do you know, by what authority do they have the right to put that information out there to allow you to use it in a college level essay that you're writing? And this is by what authority? It is that well-known organization that manages it and operates it and publishes it. So that would be the same for all the goals. Then you're going to have to write something specifically about your goal, because this red part here is the summary part. The Goal 5 page is dedicated to one of the 17 global goals for sustainable development, particularly Goal 5, achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls worldwide. It offers background information about the problem of gender equality and some relevant facts pertaining to it, as well as specific targets to accomplish to help solve the problem. And if you would like to borrow my words here and just substitute it with your particular goal, or substitute parts of it with your particular goal, as long as it makes sense, I give you permission to use that. This is my model I'm giving you. And then finally, this purple part down here, this information was helpful to me in becoming acquainted with the problem and possible solutions in my research paper. That's the part where you put in your annotation how you're going to use this information in your actual essay. And so, again, none of this is too specific. All of this is pretty general language. You're not going to pull in any kind of facts, figures, quotations, or anything into your annotated part of your annotated bibliography. It's going to be very general, but it's going to have to cover these three things. It's going to have to cover by what authority does this person or does this organization that is publishing this web page do what they do. How do you know by what authority, if it's a good enough authority to use in a college paper? Then the summary of what the page is all about, or what the article that you've read is all about, if it's a newspaper article, whatever it is. And then finally, how are you going to use that in your paper? So you might use something in your introduction, you might use something in your background information, you might use something to show specifically how a particular country is doing a program that seems to be working pretty well towards one of those three solutions from the targets that you already have that you're working on. So each one will have this annotation. And for this project, Core Project 3, you only have to have 4 sources. The first source is going to be the one I gave you from which you started, and then you're going to add 3 more sources when you find them, and you're going to add them there. So what to do is just get out there on the web and start researching. Now, one of the things that that I have given you in the document describing the problem solution essay is some of these questions. You'll need to know what the UN 17 global goals are so that you can define them and explain them for your readers, because even though you've watched the little video and you've visited the website and you know something about them, a reader of your essay may not, so you need to cover that. What's the particular goal that you're covering? Define it, explain it. Why is it important? What are some facts and figures that are interesting about your goal? What are the targets for your goal? Those are the solutions that I asked you to put in the journal from last week. Why does it matter? There's actually a PDF on the site for each of those. Go back to my United Nations here. if you keep scrolling down, you will see more information down here at the bottom, and you can find things related news there. You might find here's a gender equality. Why does it matter? A little video. So there's all kinds of things that's available right on this web page that you can use. Here are the infographics that I was talking about. You can click on that infographic about why it matters and get information from there and quote this as your source, this PDF. That is your source there. So there's a lot of places on the website itself where you might get additional resources for your annotated bibliography. Some other things that you might get is from the document here. I've given you some other places where you can go to research. This will be much better using some of these things than it would be going just out and Googling something and randomly getting a bunch of stuff that doesn't relate to what you want to use or not good, reliable college level sources for you to use. So NC Live is a wonderful meta database full of lots of news magazines and newspapers. It's also a host to several databases that will have information, and it has a specific search engine. NC Live is something that is based on keywords, so you want to be sure. I've got a little explanation here about keywords and how to use them. If you need a tutorial, this is a live link that you can click on and go to the NC Live tutorial. So that's a great place to start your research. Another place I put on here is globalissues.org, which is another live link to a website that has a lot of news stories and things. So you'll have to scroll through and find something that pertains to your goal, but they have a search engine too up here, and so you can put something up there that in your search to help you find something about gender equality or whatever it is, whatever the topic that you're working on. This is a good source to use because they have the latest news stories up here. They may not, like I said, they may not be pertaining to what you have. There's a lot of other kinds of news up here besides something related to what you're researching for. But notice that the latest thing I'm looking at it is October the 18th today as I'm making your video for you, and you can see the October 18th it has several news articles here. So it's up to date. It's recent information, which is part of how we know a source is a good, reliable source. Another place that you can go for research, I have also put in the document, like the globalissues.org is what I just brought up there. Newsweek, see these are live links to Newsweek is a news magazine, and again they have lots of news here, but it does, and you'll have to look for something that pertains to what you're writing about. And again, up here is they have their own search engine for that too. So all these links, I checked them the other day with one of my face-to-face classes, and all these links are good links. They work. If you want to go to PBS, again, they have a world focus on things at PBS. And so, again, and they have their own search engine. So, use some of these sources, find your own resources, and when you do find your own resources, 3 more of them, then there is a journal for you to complete this week. The journal for this week is right here, the Annotated Bibliography Sources Journal. I want you to go ahead and put your sites that you have found and start filling out that information for your annotation. I copied and pasted from the Power Slide session or the slideshow session the one that I did for Goal 5 for the first source that you're going to be using, and just to remind you of what all goes into the annotation. And then you're just going to add 3 more of those that you have found. These won't necessarily be the only ones that you use in your research paper, and you may even decide later on that you find a source that's better than this to use for your research paper. But for this assignment, you will have to do 4 of these in your annotated bibliography. We want to do it as well as we can because it is 20% of your grade, as the research paper is 20% of your grade. So 40% of your grade is coming from this global goal that you'll be researching and writing about. Okay, so you remember too, to start a journal, you just go to Start or Edit My Journal. You won't be able to, when you open them, when you open up to start your journal, here's the box we type in. You won't be able to do a hanging indent, so don't worry about that. Just start with your title. Now, it is important that you put all this information in there, but you don't have to worry about the hanging indent for it because it may not, because you won't be able to format it in that way. The same, when you put it in your Google Doc, you will be able to do that. And then when you finish, save your changes, and then you can go back and work on it. You can add one source, and then a couple of days later you find another source. You can go back in there and put it in. It's easier to go ahead and do the annotation while you're exploring the source and maybe even taking notes from the source for information you're going to put in your research paper, because there it is in front of you, you're familiar with it, and it's just easier than having to go back and find this, all the resources later and do it. So that's my suggestion, is to do it that way, where you're go ahead, you find a source, you think this is great, this is exactly what I was looking for, I want to put this in my paper, and then you go back to and then you think, yes, this is what I want. So go ahead and do it and put it in that journal for this week. I want you to go ahead and start your research. This is another reason for this, is to keep you focused on worldwide solutions to a worldwide problem, and this is also to keep you moving along in your research so you don't put it off to the last minute and do a poor job on it. Okay, so that's what we're doing this week. Contact me if you have any questions, and I'll be glad to help you. And until next time, I'll see you then.